Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks again for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. We're going to take a quick look here again at Solana, double checking a few key factors. I just want to kind of see where we're at with liquidation since we last spoke here. And what we're also going to do is talk a little bit about this descending trend and where we need to validate or invalidate this direction, right? What's going to happen next and how to identify that. So if you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Hope you can learn something today. If you do want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site linked down below. Got a lot of new traders over there. Read through my signals guide and make sure that you use your own risk tolerance for the trades that I take, because again, not everyone's the same. All right, so taking a look here at Solana, important to note here, we're getting closer to this upper level liquidation. There was somewhere in the range of $250 million in liquidation at roughly that, 137. So 137 is the upper level, and we've got, of course, roughly about the same 250 million at about 128. So 128 to 137 is that range. We're closer to 137. Decent chance we see that level swept here, but again, that's just based on most recent shorts shorting at that 137, which has notoriously been a resistance level for Solana. So I don't think there's any surprise or shock by that. There's nothing out of the ordinary there. We take a look here, of course, we can kind of recognize that when we look at the monthly, this is the monthly, there's not a ton of liquidation below the price action anymore. Okay, we got some late longs, of course, that's standard, but most everything's been liquidated or swept to the downside. So ultimately, the likelihood of the price action going much lower from here is lower because there's a lot less attraction, if you will, to that, right? The whales have less incentive to push the price down. Okay, so again, it's just one of those kind of things here, and we can kind of see the same amount of buying and selling here. There's nothing too out of the ordinary for Solana at this point. This being a weekend too, we got to recognize kind of where we're at. So when I look at charts on the weekends, I generally like to look at perspective of what's happened and what's to come, right? So the obvious, this week has obviously been a pretty red week for most coins. We're seeing lower highs and lower lows. In this case here, though, we are starting to bottom out in a sense. And what I mean by that is if you compare this with Bitcoin, let's kind of make it easy so we can kind of clean up the charts. You can kind of see lower highs and lower lows, right? Solana, while it has had significant lower lows, it's got parallel lows within this range of this lower support. Okay, again, the support range that we have is between 130 and 144. Okay, so that's like a support range based on volume profile on larger time frames, and I think it's relevant to just kind of keep that in mind and understand that that's the area of control for this coin right now. If we lose that, then there's a different story altogether. Okay, so we're starting to see a lot more resistance here about 144, but if we zoom out a little bit here, we kind of look, we can see 144 and this 130 as the area of support. So we're kind of just building that profile in that center, and that's a positive sign. So good news is the longer we spend here, the better. So I wouldn't be concerned with the price action right now just yet. We have tentatively bottomed out, getting close to 30 on the RSI, money flow bouncing, stochastic swinging up. Those are all standard things here. I would not get excited about that stochastic swing or the MACD no longer diverging or starting to lose this momentum, because again, we're still below all the important moving averages. The thing we do got to recognize, though, is that there is the 200-day SMA below the price action maintaining itself. Okay, that's a good sign. We want to have that there, but we also don't want to lose it either. Okay, so again, staying above 130, I think, is important. Well, could we see one last leg down with the price legs up? Yeah, totally. Bitcoin's on target for that, and why wouldn't Solana follow suit? Again, that's just kind of the general consensus here. So it's generally the idea. So the 4-hour time frame is very similar. We're seeing stochastic divergence. We can also see the RSI kind of below 50. When we see that, that's not always a favorable sign. Being back up over 50 gives us some confirming factors that we're in much better shape. While they're not always perfect, this last one was a big fake out. We're still looking for something along those lines to get more confirmation and taking a long position. Okay. So again, I think it's still too premature and early to try to jump into a trade right now. But the truth is, altcoins are doing decent right now. And if we do take a look at Bitcoin dominance, we can see that it's still maintaining that upper 55.5% range, or 55.25 rather. And it's not necessarily a positive sign for altcoins. But it's starting to taper off and maybe come down. If we get back below that 55%, then I think alts are going to start to kind of, come back alive, if you will. Anyways, that's just some things to kind of think about. The hourly, that last but not least here, again, this is not the most optimal setting here, but the lagging span is free and clear for the moment. Conversion lines above the baseline, those are like 2 out of 3 reasons to be like, maybe I shouldn't have a short position open right now. Okay. Now, do you want to take a long because of that? No, you're underneath the cloud. We're still under this descending trend line. I have this X on the chart here. I would say a closure at 140 or higher at least before I would feel confident. And that should happen in another couple of days. You take a, just say the price jumps up to 140 right now, I'd feel pretty concerned about it because that could very well just reject off this trend line. All right, again, this trend line isn't exact or perfect, but most of them hold the price action in place until they don't. So a good trader will wait for confirmation above that trend line and potentially, buy into a bullish backtest instead of the inverse as well. Okay. What I mean by that is if your price comes up here, don't just buy in here, right? You wait for the price to break through the trend line, come back down, retest, likely retest the most recent high as a new low, and that's when you get in. And that's why we're looking for that little blue X here on the chart to just make sure we're on the right track. So that's roughly what we're looking at. I'll post this on our Twitter, Telegram, Discord, YouTube, TikTok, the whole 9 yards there, just so you can kind of see what my thoughts are on this coin. And I hope that you have learned something today. I do want to say thank you, extra special thank you to our community for just some awesome feedback here recently. I'm glad that you appreciate the calibration. You do have to adjust in the market sometimes. You can't just stick to the same old thing. Stick to what's work if it's not broken, but as soon as the market shifts, you want to kind of try to stay ahead of it. So that's what we're doing. So thanks again for the awesome feedback there and just your patience too. I know the market is not optimal right now. That's just kind of how it goes. And you learn to adjust though, and we are doing so as well. So appreciate that. Thanks again, folks. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.